Hey,
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hi.
How are you? How are you?
Hanging in.
Awesome. Got the home studio set up.
Oh yeah.
Is your boy down for the night?
locked him out. No, we locked him outside. He's with the dog. He's with the dog.
For now.
I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, it would definitely be awesome to have both of you. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's gonna be interesting. How old is your son
Yeah.
now?
3.5.
Oh man. So he's fully capable of getting into some
Oh
trouble,
yeah,
huh? That's
for
crazy.
sure.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for joining me. I know we've talked about this for a while, and I had every intention of starting this podcast and vlog, and then this kind of I was like, all right, 2020 is the year, and then all this
Yeah.
craziness went down, and I thought, man, you know what? What can we do? Obviously, this is a very serious time, and I know you guys are people of faith. I know you're also, in business owners, you're also in the community and coaching and all that kind of stuff. So you're seeing it from all levels, right? You're feeling the impact as business owners. You're feeling the impact as, obviously as a coach and dealing with students who just had their school year ended and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into all of that. But I just wanted to thank you guys again for joining me and saying yes to this. It's been fun. We've been going a couple of weeks now, and I'm glad that you guys were able to join us. So for those of you that don't know, please just introduce yourselves and tell us your story. Basically, want to hear your story, where you guys come from, how you got to where you are now, kind of talk about what's happening now, and then just talk about some ideas and hope for the future, because I think we could all use some of that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Art Berlanga. They call me Coach B. My wife Jessica, but we've been married for 7 years now. It was 7 years in
Wow.
January. Yeah.
Congratulations.
So 2009 we started dating, and yeah, here we
It's been a
are.
while.
Well, okay. I want to hear the story about how you guys met, but before that, take us all the way back to where you guys grew up. And because I actually I think Jess, I met you more when we were older, kind of out doing
Mhm.
promotions and during the events and those kind of things. With Art,
Yeah.
we actually, I don't know if you know this or remember this, but you and I played against each other in the first ever sporting event to happen at Soledad High School. I was a freshman, or no, I was a sophomore on varsity North County basketball, and you and your brother and another guy, I think, were juniors. And I think we got the W that day, but I'm pretty sure it was the first game in your new gym. And then I was like, man, those twins are something else. And I've just followed you guys all through Hartnell and all that kind of stuff. So I think we played against each other back in the day. But tell us about where you guys grew up, even when you were little. Where'd you guys come from?
Okay, I'll start. I'm from Soledad, California.
Nice.
The Food Valley, agriculture town, small town. Soledad's a lot different now today than it was when I was growing up.
Yeah, it's
When I was
happening
growing
in
up,
Soledad now, right?
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, they took that sign down, and that sign was legendary. Legendary.
Great marketing. Whoever came up with that.
Man,
What's
it's
happening in
happening in
Soledad?
Soledad, man.
I'm from Castroville, which is even smaller than Soledad, so I have no place to talk.
Yeah. So a group there again. It was a lot smaller than it is now. It's a lot bigger. It's probably tripled or quadrupled since I was growing up there in Soledad. But yeah, my parents originally, my dad's originally from Salinas. He grew up in Bolson Knolls in north side of town of
Okay,
Salinas.
nice.
He was he was in the military. He was in the Navy. He met my mom in the island of Guam.
Oh wow,
So
cool.
that's a little bit unique about just our family having that Guamanian Chamorro culture,
Yeah,
mixed also with our Mexican, our Hispanic culture blending together. But
that's awesome.
yeah,
Actually, one of our mutual friends is Tasia Flores. Shout out to Tasia.
yeah,
Her and her
Chamorro.
family. So we all grew up in church in Castroville in the '90s, and also that was when Fort Ord was open. So there was a whole like, even though by blood I'm not Islander, I feel like I'm adopted in the family because I grew up with Hawaiians and Guamanians and Samoans. Most other folks that aren't from the Central Coast or from the islands don't realize that not all islanders are Hawaiian. Like they don't understand that that there's more than just Hawaiian and Samoan. So
Oh yeah,
I
oh
love.
yeah.
There's some really awesome Guamanian entrepreneurs, Guamanian artists. Our friend Tiffany the Logo, she's killing it. She's part Guamanian. There's a good local
hmm
community in the 831 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I grew up there. We moved there when I was in first grade. So I went to Kemen Elementary School on Laurel Drive in Salinas.
Yeah.
Went to La Jolla Elementary and Boston Knowles in Salinas before
Yeah.
we moved. And then so we moved there, grew up there since first grade, and then we didn't have a high school at the time.
We used to play home run derby right there at Frashy Park. Just
Okay. Yeah. I know the park. We didn't have a high school when I was growing up there though, so everyone went to Gonzales still. So everyone from Saudade was still going to Gonzales. This is before Saudade was built, so I'm aging myself a little bit. I'm dating myself, but it's all good. So
okay, same boat.
And then yeah, so we grew up there, and then eventually transferred to Albert Alvarez High School my freshman year. The reason for that was because my dad went to a high school reunion at North Salinas High School that summer, and my cousins were going to go to school there, and they live in Salinas. So my parents, hey, you guys are going to transfer to Alvarez, and that's what we did. And then Saudade High School was built 2 years later, and then we transferred back to Saudade just because we wanted to be part of the first high school there ever. And then I was part of the first graduating class in 2001. So shout out to the 01.
Who was the
class.
Who was the other guy besides you and your brother? There was the third guy that was really good.
His name was Jesse Rodriguez.
Okay, yeah.
Jesse
okay.
Rodriguez.
Yeah,
yeah, he was
yeah, for sure. Awesome.
We used to call ourselves the triple threat.
For sure. Yeah, you guys are good.
Self-proclaimed. I don't think anyone else called them that, but we called ourselves the triple threat.
Yeah, so I mean, you and your brother, obviously you're twins. You don't look exactly alike, but pretty close if somebody didn't know you. And I remember we had, growing up, their class of 2003, Jerry and Greg Lynch, the Lynch brothers. I don't know if you played against them, but they were more baseball players. But in middle school, they were at Gambetta, and we used to call them the Lynch mob, and they would like trap together. Like, their ability on the court or on the field was like in sync. You know how twins are, like siblings, let alone twins. So it was like, wait, which one am I guarding?
Yeah. So I would love to know the people we played against, especially in high school or in college, where, especially in high school, we both played receiver. We played both ways, offense and defense. Yeah. So I'm playing receiver on one end, my brother's on the other end, and then we go to defense, and we're both playing corner.
Yeah,
I don't know if they knew what it meant.
Did you guys have your Did you have your last name on the back of the jersey at that time?
We did. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys had I had a bunch of friends on, because I was 02 North County, so I had a bunch of friends that played with you guys at Hartnell. That was a pretty stacked team. That was a pretty stacked team. So tell us about the Hartnell days.
Oh, they're good times, man. I remember a lot of guys from North County. Jacob Sanderson is one of them.
Oh, yeah.
A good friend of mine.
I ran track with Jacob.
Ran track together also. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good hurdler.
Yeah.
Great receiver, big guy.
Yep.
Big physical presence. So, it was a good time. We went there our freshman year. Little guys out of high school, only 150 pounds. My brother and I were. So we didn't last very long. We actually talked to our coach before. Coach Souza, he's a North County legend.
Yep, Larry Souza, shout out. Yep.
Yeah. So Coach Souza, my brother and I went up. Yes.
Yeah.
Went up to him and asked him before the season, "Hey, Coach, we think it would be a good idea for us to redshirt because we're just little. We feel like we need another year to develop and just to compete at this level, so we don't get hurt." I'm like, no, you guys are playing, you guys are starting. No, we can't lose you. Whatever you guys want, we'll do it. So sure enough, unfortunately, both got hurt that year, and we both dislocated our shoulder. Different shoulders, but same injury, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing a medical redshirt our freshman year in 2001 season. Came back for the next 2 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then ended up balling out, and then ended up getting our ticket out of here and representing our community, representing the city of Soledad, representing the 831 and the state of Colorado. And then just took it to another level, man, and at the 4-year level, and greatest times of my life.
So before we go off too far off the rabbit trail of sports, which we could talk about forever. Sorry, Jess. Let Jess tell us your background a little bit, because I know a little bit, because you went to Alvarez.
Are you guys done?
Yeah,
we're done. I'm sorry.
We can do the whole thing on football alone.
Back to Jess. Jess, where did you grow up? And tell us about your background.
I grew up in Salinas. I grew up on all sides of town. My parents were both working parents, so we kind of moved where the rent was affordable, So I grew up on the east side. Went to middle school and elementary school on that side of town. Kindergarten through third, I went to Mission Park, and then had a rough time in middle school. So I went to Alvarez, and that's how we met as friends, like just acquaintances. We didn't date or anything, but
I played football with her brother and I are the same age.
yeah, yeah. So my brother knew him, and so we just found the same circle of friends, and just kind of nothing ever came of that. So then after that, I graduated high school a year early, so I pursued my cosmetology license because I was just doing it for, what's that called?
Elective?
Yeah, an elective course for my senior credits, you know? So I finished actually earlier than I expected, so I just thought, well, what the heck, I'm just going to take the test, you know, and passed it the first time and took advantage of it. So I got a job up in Carmel and managed a small spa in Carmel for about a year, about a year, I believe. And then after that when Aqua Blue opened, so I started working for them and managed them. I managed them for about 7 years or so. And then after that,
where it is now in Old Town, the same location?
Yeah, it's still in Old Town.
Yeah, shout out to Frank. Shout out to Frank.
Hey, Frank.
So I remember when you were doing, I think it's funny because I was talking with someone about this the other day, that we're kind of the last generation that like really grew up playing outside, the last generation that kind of saw the transition from not really having tech to having it, right? So that there's a generation that never had it, then there's a generation that has only had it, and we're kind of that bridge, right? We're like younger Gen X, older millennials. And because I remember being in junior high, and I came over to a friend's house, and this is back in the day. I think we all probably grew up in strict households, right? We have the faith background, and you have the military background. So like we would get in trouble, like if a girl called the house. And I remember, or a boy called the house, right? You either have your friend call for the other one kind of thing, right? And I remember one time coming, this is in junior high, this is in the like mid late 90s. And I was like, what are you doing on the computer? Because back then all we did was like play solitaire or drawing and painting, right? He's like, I'm talking to girls on Messenger. I was like, wait, you're doing what? Like, I'm chatting with girls. I was like, mind was blown. But the reason I talk about that is because a lot of the start that, my friend Chad North, you know, from back in the day as well, we started when the economy was bad, kind of like what we're kind of walking into now, back in 2007, 2008. It was also around the time that social media was just getting big, right? So I remember you from MySpace because Chad and I were working with Ryan Lama on 831 Magazine, and you were kind of like between Aqua Blue, between the modeling, you're in MySpace and your 831 Magazine, and then of course, and then Taja's a childhood friend, so there was that connection there. Because did you play softball with Taja?
I did.
Okay, so that's kind of where that was. So we put it all together. So then I kind of knew you both separately. So then I saw you got together. I was like, that's cool. It's, you know, small world. Kind of works out. So after you were doing Aqua Blue, you had your background with cosmetology. When did you decide to start your own business?
Well, I was kind of forced into starting my own business. It was never a dream of mine to open a business ever. I just knew that I was good at production, but I didn't know of what. You know, I liked to not be in charge. I wouldn't say I really don't like to be in charge.
This is more just like you know how to make things happen.
You like the boss me around.
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna say I don't know. His face is saying otherwise. No, I'm just kidding. But so how did you, I know as a cosmetologist, you're pretty much an independent contractor anyway, usually, but then you actually went and opened your own location and the whole nine, right?
Right. So I ended up leaving. It was just, there was a lot of differences in management, and I just didn't want to I wanted to create a space where I knew people were happy to come and work. Or I knew that they wanted to be around me. That was my thing. I think from childhood trauma a little bit, you know, like just not so much trying to be a people pleaser, but just to give people that experience of you're not always having to work or be in an environment that doesn't make you happy. Yeah. So I wanted to create a space where they felt freedom, but they still felt like it was work. And then they just perform better, you know? So
you mean for your staff, for
all of us.
Or
because a lot of the people that I ended up working with were like Crystal. Crystal and I worked out.
Shout out to
Yeah, he
Crystal.
worked at Aqua
I think it was her
Blue
birthday the
Yeah,
other day, right?
yeah,
Yesterday,
it
the day
was.
before.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Crystal.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We're lying
Um,
for those hospitals too,
I
man.
know, man.
Yes, yes, she is. Thank you. Yep.
So, yeah, Crystal and I, we both, in a sense, without saying too much, I just did like,
Yeah.
in a sense, we just parted ways
Yeah.
with the business with Aqua Blue, and we ended
Yeah.
up going in it together. Actually, I don't know if a lot of people knew that, but she
No, I remember.
managed the massage side of everything,
Mhm.
and then I
Mhm.
did all the skincare, the marketing, all that stuff on that end. So when she started working on customers, I already knew because I managed her. She was great, and I
Yeah.
knew that she had drive. So just us together, it was kind of funny when we signed our lease, we were just like, okay, we have to get along for 3 years. Like, we have to agree for 3 years that we're just gonna let it go, and just move on. And
Yeah.
honestly, I got a best friend out of it. So
That's
it
awesome.
was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember when you guys started that. It was super cool. And I always was kind of jealous because I was like, I don't really feel like this is a place for guys, but I wish we had something like this. Because
You'll be
You
surprised.
would be surprised.
do guys go? I thought it was only for ladies. Oh, okay. Well,
No,
shoot. When you guys
A
open
lot
back
of
up, I'm
dudes
gonna
get
check it out.
these things touched up.
I know. Everybody. I'm sure. Like, obviously you keep it high and tight, but like the amount of people that need haircuts and nails and eyebrows coming out of this quarantine is going to be out of control.
oh, I
So
know.
even though times
I
are tough
know.
right now, you guys are going to have a boom in a month or so.
I know.
Which is crazy. But
Yeah.
so when you guys, okay, so you knew each other in high school, all right, your buddy's little sister, whatever, there was nothing there, but how did you reconnect later on as adults? I think you were done with college. Did you come back home and then you were already home kind of running your business? How did you guys reconnect?
So
Was it MySpace? No, I'm just kidding.
Kinda. No, just kidding.
Slid in the DMs?
Yeah.
This is before the DMs.
Oh, way before the DMs. Yeah.
Oh, it was on the wall. Yeah, the slide of the wall.
This is before filters too. So you had to be.
Yeah, you couldn't hide. You couldn't hide behind filters back then.
Well, it wasn't fair.
No,
she had like professional model photos going on, so that's a better than filters.
I never sent him those though. I never sent him those.
No, I mean they were like public, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I never left the area. I had an intention of leaving the area because I have property in Arizona and family, but I never did, and I honestly don't know why I didn't leave. I think I just kind of fell in love with. At the time, when I was modeling and stuff, I kind of got into the whole community service stuff, philanthropy. I really, I don't know, that really like gave me some passion into everything just because my parents never did that and they never exposed me to that. So I kind of liked it, and I thought, well, there's so many people here that need people like me. But I felt like I was going to stay. So I ended up staying. And then we met because a mutual friend of ours was getting married from high school. And that mutual friend is a family friend of ours, of my family and his. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was in his wedding, and then I was going to be in town. I was still living in Colorado at the time. And I already got my degree, finished school. I played 2 years of arena football, did that. Oh, wow. And then I'm getting, it's time to get a real job. And then I started landscaping. So I got a bachelor's degree just to do some landscaping. And then, but I enjoyed it. I learned a lot.
What is it called? Landscape architect.
Yeah. I was an English major, so I was reading books while I was landscaping.
There you go.
Nah.
Whatever it's
so anyway,
before Audible. No.
Yeah.
So then I was gonna be in town for the wedding, and then I was in town. So you know what? Let me hit up Jessica, see if she wants to be my date. Even though we haven't talked in years. Like, hey, I got nothing to lose. I live in a different state. I was shooting my shot, as the kids say today, right? I was shooting my shot. So
well, and a lot of the people that were attending the wedding are like literally friends from way back.
And family there.
It wouldn't have been uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was very.
Either way, it made sense.
Yeah.
And you just didn't.
So she told me no.
No way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tell him why. I didn't say just no.
Oh, she had her
man.
nephew. It was the same day as her nephew's birthday,
Yeah.
so they're going to go to
Great
Great
America.
America.
Oh, not because she didn't want to go with you. It's because she chose.
No, that's what she
a
tells me.
previous
But
commitment. Wow. Okay. So you shot your shot. You missed on the first try. There's a coaching lesson here, but you stayed
Yes.
consistent. And then what happened? Did you just
Consistency.
give her a guilt trip, or how did it work?
No, and then she actually said, "Was it won't be in town for the whole weekend, so we can link up." She's like, "Yeah, let's do it the next day." It's like, she ain't about it, man. Like, I've been around, I've been in and out of relationships throughout my time in college and things like that, and it's like she's just leading me on, or she's just telling me what I want to hear, right? Because she's like, she's not going to take the time to do this. And then, sure enough, she was a woman of her word. It shocked me
There you
because
go.
just based on my experiences and things I've been through, as far as relationships go, it just wasn't the case. It always worked out in that way. So anyway, we met up. We went beer tasting in Old Town. What else did we do? In-N-Out Burger.
Burger for dinner.
First
Sat in the
date,
car.
In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah. Sat in
That's a
the
good
car
sign.
listening to oldies.
Oh yeah.
The rest is history.
I'm easy to entertain.
I've always said that too. Like, if I'm on a date or whatever, like, I think you can tell how things are going by how comfortable you are with someone, right? So if you're comfortable enough to like eat a double cheeseburger and get like animal sauce all over this animal style,
Yeah.
like that's a good sign, right? If you feel comfortable to eat animal style in front of someone you just are on a date with, then that's probably a good sign. So did you go back to Colorado then? After that?
Oh, yes. So
And then,
I
and
did.
then were
So
you
I had to go
already
back.
kind of thinking? Were you already thinking about coming home, or did that help change that idea?
No, yeah, I always had plans to
It's
come home.
because I kissed him on the first date, so that's what made him want to come back.
Hey,
Wow,
man,
wow. Hey,
Well,
whatever it
hey
takes.
man, I
Hey,
take freaking risks.
day drinking and ending with In-N-Out. I would say that deserves a kiss. Heck yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's a great start. What was your perspective on it? Did you know he was kind of shooting his shot? Could you feel that, or were you just like, who's this guy, or this is just my brother's
I
friend?
definitely sense that he was nervous.
Okay.
Like he was very shy when I met him.
He was.
I had a lot of respect for her.
I can't imagine. Yeah, for sure. I get it. I can be that way too. Like,
So I wasn't trying to. I don't know. Try to save it. But
Here's
he can
the
join.
dude.
Bring him up. Bring him up.
say hi, everybody.
What's up,
Hi.
buddy? What's up, man? And he's he a junior, or he's the third? The third. Okay, awesome. Good stuff.
So I just took a shot because I thought, well, he's leaving out of state, so why the heck not? I mean, what's gonna hurt?
Yeah.
He's just gonna leave and think I'm a freak, you know?
So then, obviously, first date went pretty great, and then you just kind of both were like, maybe there's something there, maybe we should keep in touch, or what happened after that?
So I went back to Colorado, and then I was there for 5 weeks, and we talked every day, and got pillow talk, as they say, right?
No,
Falling
you hang
asleep.
up. No, you hang up. No.
Yeah. On three, hang up. 1, 2, 3, and then we go. Oh, yeah, you want to hang up. You know how that goes.
And this
So
is just
we did
when
that.
like video chatting was coming out, huh? Like, well, no, it had already been out for
No, there was
No,
no
not really?
video chatting.
No.
I had a razor phone.
No.
Oh my god.
No, at least this is 2009.
Explain to the kids under 30 what a razor phone is.
It was the coolest, like, thinnest phone ever, but it was still a flip phone.
Remember how
I
bad
just
the
used
pictures
the
were? Yeah. And
Yeah,
then it'd be
I
like,
got the 69.
and then you'd be like, hey, don't call me till after 9 when my minutes are free. And then if he's in a different time zone, it would already be like 11 o'clock in Colorado. So it's like,
Yeah.
so you lost some sleep.
So
So
that-
that's worth it.
Yes. Oh man, I'd be at work at 6 in the morning. So I definitely lost some sleep, but obviously it was worth it at the end. So
So how long
we kept in touch.
how long between that first date and moving back to California?
It was 5 weeks, I believe.
Only 5
it?
weeks?
Longer.
It was longer.
Yeah, it was longer.
Because
Oh, because I came to visit. Remember I came to visit.
but you moved back in
I can't remember when.
January or somewhere in the winter, and I think we went on the date in August. So
Okay.
I mean, it was a couple months.
Well, I'm sure Colorado winter probably helped make the decision too, right? You're like, I think I'm gonna go back to California.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
no
so
joke
I
out
had
there.
always plans of moving back, though, but she just made it happen sooner than I expected it to.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then, all right. So you came back home. You are about to start the business. Was it all kind of simultaneous when you started coaching, or how did you go from when you got back to started coaching? Where did you start with that?
I started coaching in 2007. So at Colorado Mason University in Grand Junction, Colorado.
Okay.
It's a 4-year school. So I did that for 2 years, and then so I never stopped coaching. I just was coaching in between and working and doing all that other stuff. And then I moved back home, and then I started coaching at my alma mater high school at Soledad.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
I
right.
want to make sure that I gave back to my school before I did anything else or moving on or what, maybe
Awesome.
going back to the college level. I just wasn't sure what level I wanted to be at, but I wanted to make sure I stopped by my old stomping grounds, my hometown, and make sure I gave everything back.
I feel the same way. I've gone back and coached basketball and track at North County high school and middle school levels and the rec center and stuff. And it's funny because inevitably there's only so many coaching jobs, right? So some of the guys we graduated with end up taking jobs at other schools, right? You've ended up doing that, and even though you did have some roots at Gonzales as well. But I remember one of my buddies became the coach, Anthony Cotta. You know if you remember him, he was a coach at Seaside for a while.
I know Anthony.
And then I've had other buddies that go to coach at Palma. And I remember one friend coming in, he was coaching at Palma, and he came in at North County. I just looked at him like, bro, take that off. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, we all have those local rivalries that we have. You know, you're just like, are you really going to wear that here? Like, come on. You know, so luckily you were able to stick within two schools that you know were special to you, which is cool.
Yeah.
So when did you end up becoming the head coach at Gonzales?
I was the head coach in 2017. So I'm going into my 4th year as a head coach, and then I've been coaching 14 years overall.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, great opportunity.
How long has the spa been open, Des?
I'm going on my 9th year.
So that 3-year lease turned into 9 years?
Yeah.
Wow, incredible. Yeah. That's amazing.
He's a great landlord.
That's awesome. So
yeah.
And then within the team, I know I kind of followed it from a distance. What an amazing story that you've done with that program. Like, tell us about the last couple of years at Gonzales and from where you started to where it is now and what you guys have had success in the last couple of years.
Yeah, so when I got hired, I knew immediately, just because I was an assistant coach for 10 years before I got my first head job. And I knew my coaching staff was going to be very instrumental as far as the success we're going to have. Because it doesn't matter what I know, it matters what the whole staff knows. I've been around long enough to understand I can't do everything by myself. And then I got to get other grown men to buy into what I'm about and what I want to teach. From a philosophical standpoint to X and O's to a team culture and just building this thing from the ground up. And then just with my experience, I saw it at high school, working there with my brother and turning that program around, and then being at Hartnell, and then of course being now currently at Gonzales. I just took everything I've learned from those different schools and those experiences, and just put it all into my staff, into my program, and it was ground building from the ground up, man. These kids had no self confidence in themselves, no belief. There was no culture, no expectations, no structure. And so I was able to, with a group of guys around me, able to turn this thing around within just 2 years. Became champions, awesome. And
So it's been amazing what you and your brother have been able to do. So he took Soledad, and they won CCS, right?
Yes.
A couple of years ago, which is awesome. And then you did the same with Gonzales, and last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2018.
If you're anybody local understands the dynamics, but if there's the people watching this from everywhere, from all over the country and different countries even, both of these schools are, like you said, small town communities, hardworking, blue collar, agriculture communities, smaller schools that are basically you know, David and Goliath type situations in a lot of the cases. And so being able to watch it from afar, man, I just want to say, like, shout out to you guys and all the hard work that you and your brother put in, and you and your staff. I mean, it was inspiring to watch. Of course, I'm a Condor at the end of the day, but I was super proud just for you guys, because you weren't just representing Gonzales or Soledad. You were, you know, not just South County, but really all the whole Central Coast when you guys went to take on those other teams and whoop up on some of the Bay Area teams that have recruiting and have budgets and they're private schools, and you guys are just you know, from a small town in South Monterey County and making it happen. So I was super proud of both you and your brother when you guys did that, man. So I know you guys are building the foundation for more success. What, Jess, on the business side, what were some of the things as an entrepreneur, as a mom? So you guys got married, you dated, you got married, had that awesome son back there, and another one on the way, right? And what, like, how have you grown as an entrepreneur, as a mom, as a wife, just in the last few years? Like, it's like a lot all at once. Kind of seems like back to back. You got milestone after milestone after milestone, while he's also doing his own milestones as well. And you obviously have them together as well. How, you know, your guys' dynamic. I love watching you guys do it as a team and as a couple. And yeah, just talk about some of those milestones that you had with your business and obviously as a family.
Hold on. You know, honestly, I think just as a woman, I might be speaking for I'm speaking for myself, of course, but I really feel that I just kind of go day by day. I don't put too much on my plate. So when I make another decision to do something, I kind of try to perfect that first, and then I move on. Then I get bored, and then I keep moving on. Then I get bored again. And then
I need to learn from you, because I'm very similar, but instead I try to do it all at once.
Right.
So now I'm learning to, you know, like when you're on your computer and you have like 50 different tabs open, it's like, I need to do like maybe 2 or 3 and get things done. And so obviously we've had a little bit of experience now, and we've all learned from our mistakes. And I remember, you know, being young and thinking I was invincible, both as an athlete and then as an entrepreneur. And you learn some good things, some bad things along the way, and hopefully, you know, you apply those lessons. But I love what you just said about one thing at a time. So what was that progression like?
Well, I would try to do a lot at one time. I would try to do all of it at one time, because at one point I wanted to be I wanted to model first. So I modeled for several years. I mean, forever. And then I thought, oh, well, if I'm a model, then people notice me, and then I'll be able to create a brand. I don't know what brand I wanted. I didn't understand. I didn't know any of this stuff. I just knew that I had this drive for something, and I wanted to be something, but I didn't know what. And sports, I love sports. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy it a lot. But it just wasn't. It was not something I wanted to pursue. Like, I definitely was not a Monica Abbott. Shout out to Monica Abbott.
I love you.
But
Monica, remember Serena Benavente? Like, people don't understand the softball talent in our generation in the A31 was crazy back in like 01 to 04. That era of athletes was crazy, which brings up another point I'll ask later, but keep going.
Yeah, so I just wanted to figure that out. So, I mean, even now I have so many ideas in my mind that I want to put to life, but it's just not the time, you know, like there's a lot of things, but the progress part of it is just understanding what you're good at. And like I said, just applying it to that one specific thing. I just see too many people right now, people I've hired, people I've, you know, come in contact with that have all these ideas, but they never execute because or if they execute, it's never successful because they're never applying and perfecting one thing. And I think that's so huge with these the younger generation. So I mean, I guess I wouldn't even say it's a secret. It's just something I learned along the way. Is you can't do everything.
So what are some of those, or you can't do everything all at once. You can do it over time if you have a plan, right? What are some of those future bigger picture things that you're thinking about down the road?
So like I mentioned before, when I was younger, I had a lot of childhood trauma. So I grew up in a family that had a lot of addiction, a lot of teen pregnancies in my family, divorced, families.
Yeah.
I saw it. But I didn't grow up in a household like that. I just witnessed it. I saw it. I recognized it. I did grow up with a military father. My father is a recovered alcoholic, and as well as my mom. So, but I was never exposed to a life that was broken. So what I want to do with that is use it someday, hopefully. I'd like to write kind of a series of kids books.
Oh, wow.
Like to teach them, to teach them that this is okay, and this is how you can cope in a more of an animated kind of way, where it doesn't teach them. Yeah, it doesn't teach them that it's something to be ashamed of.
Yeah. I love that. So I didn't know that about you. That's really, I can relate. I grew up in a similar, it actually was in my household, some of those things. And that was challenging. And that my heart goes out right now. Some of the kids that, to me, school was an escape. Sports was an escape. Church was an escape. And I dove headfirst into anything that was outside of the home. Because for me, growing up, for the most part, home wasn't a place that I wanted to be. My father was an alcoholic, abusive, all that kind of stuff. And it just was not a very good environment. And I feel there are some kids that are quarantined right now that have to stay home, that are either, don't have food or don't have anyone to look after them, or they have someone that's abusive and now they don't get to get away for 12 hours a day. They're trapped there. And so, obviously our hearts and prayers go out. I think one of the hardest things about the situation we're facing right now, and it's only comparable to we're old enough to remember the 89 earthquake. We're old enough to have gone through 9/11, which was pretty much when we were in high school, and, the market crash of '08. But what's different about this dynamic is that we can't really help each other. And for people like us, it's so hard, you feel helpless. Like when I found out on Monday that schools were done for the year, and I know that affects you guys directly, it was heartbreaking because I was thinking about the seniors and I was thinking about the people that have kids, and I'm like, oh, that's in any other circumstance, we could say, everybody come over to the house, we'll watch the kids, you take a day out, whatever. We can't even do stuff like that right now. We have to be careful about every little thing we do, and not to switch gears too harshly, but how are you guys adjusting to the current situation, and what are some of your thoughts about what's happening right now?
I have mixed thoughts. So, because of the decisions I made in the past, it's put us financially in a point where we can afford to be off for a little bit. So where my mixed feeling comes from is that I was taught that, and I wish more people were taught that as entrepreneurs, or just as, just as an individual in general, just either saving or investing your money into something that's going to bring you more money. And it sucks. How
did you learn that?
Trial and error. Taxes.
Oh, trial and error. Yeah.
Yeah, and
as a
taxes,
business owner, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, before I was a business owner, when I was working in Carmel, I was making some pretty decent money, and I wasn't spending it properly. I didn't know. I was only 18, and so I was buying designer stuff. I bought a stupid sauna for what? Dumb stuff.
Because you're going to open a spa one day. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. So just dumb stuff I was spending my money on. And my tax lady told me, you need to start either buying a house, get married, or have a kid. And I'm all, well, I'm not getting married or having a kid anytime soon. So I guess I'll buy a house, and that's where the real estate came in Arizona. And I bought at the low of the market crash, and I just got in at the right time. Awesome. But I feel like God put certain people in my life for a reason, right? So absolutely. I ended up getting my my loan through a man that didn't know me at, I think it was Bank of America mortgage at the time. And I will never forget him telling me this. He says, if you lost your job tomorrow, are you going to be able to pay your mortgage? And I was like, probably not, and he's like, so what I want you to do is I want you to save for 1 month of mortgage first before we close your loan. Why would he do that? I didn't understand why this man, I was 18, or how old was I? I think I was 20 or 21 at that time. I don't understand why this man even had a place to tell me, because I was so ignorant. But because of that, I've always done it. So I've always saved at least 1 month of my mortgage. And that's why I feel like we're in the place we're in now, because we have the rental property income coming in. I have my business money coming in, from online sales, from just all these different things that we still have, a nice little cushion where we can stay for a month, but God forbid it's longer than that.
Yeah, that's why I respect you guys and appreciate what you guys are doing. And I know no one becomes a teacher or a coach for the money, right? I mean, obviously, if you get to the college or in a pro level, then there's some good money, right? If you're like Nick Saban or somebody like that. But for the everyday high school coach or junior college coach, they're doing it for the passion. They're not doing it for the paycheck. And obviously, if you're good, the money will come down the road. But it's awesome to see you guys tackle this as a team and have that holistic approach where you're obviously helping people with the physical and the health, obviously with the fitness that comes with training, but not only that, the mental, the spiritual, the financial. I mean, it's very rare to see a couple from where we're from, our age, doing what you guys are doing. And I've always been a fan and grateful to watch what you guys have built. And I definitely want to connect more moving forward and kind of merge, as much as we can, collaborate on things together, because more people that are like-minded need to collaborate. And I know also too, you guys are involved in your church locally, and you sometimes are speaking and all that kind of stuff. And I actually have a background doing some of that as well. And it's funny, there's a lot of actually commonality there. Talk a little bit about your church involvement and some of the speaking engagements you guys have done.
So I grew up in a Catholic church with my parents, and we just went for tradition, like Christmas, Easter, things like that.
Right.
So I didn't grow up in a church. So actually, one of the dates that he took me on was a day date to church on a Sunday, and it was to Compass Church. And I was kind of like, I think it was First Presbyterian Church at the time. And I told my dad, and my dad, being traditional, he was like, "But you're not Christian." And I was like, "What?" Well, can I go? Here it was like how old was I? Like 25, 26. And I'm asking my dad, growing up military, you just do it, So, I ended up going. Oh, go ahead.
No, go, keep going. Just saying hi to Dante.
So then, I ended up, going with him, and I kind of, it was so weird to me how, and I say weird because it was weird to me at that time, how it was so kickback and just so, and the only other thing too is how I felt like they kind of knew what was going on in my life at that time, when I went in there. It was definitely different than hearing, your Hail Marys like 10 times. And so we kept going to church after that, dating, engaged, married, and I got into the community outreach program through them. So I started doing some of their community outreach, and then I was approached by one of my a good friend now. Her name's Andrea. She's kind of in charge of, like, I don't know what her title is, to be honest, but she got me involved in the Christmas on Main Street production that they do. That's really huge.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I started doing hair and makeup and stuff for the production, and then
nice.
I would go to the Bible studies. Like it was funny because I felt like I was getting more connected to the church than him when I wasn't the one that grew up in the church. So I kind of thought that was kind of cool, right? Yeah, and then the speaking, I'll let you kind of bring that up.
Yeah, so I teach the high school ministry class. Awesome. I did the Sunday I just teach a high school class on Sundays, and then now with everything that's going on with the quarantine, and I do it via Zoom now, just to stay in
Nice.
contact with our class. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what else was I supposed to say about
You just
that?
have to.
No. I'm just curious. So that I've seen that you do some public speaking as well, and I think that's
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
You know, it's funny because I remember being a coach, and it's a lot easier to get kids' attention when you have a whistle and you have the ability to discipline them, right, or make them run laps. I went back and like talked at career day last year or 2 years ago at my old high school, and I had to talk to a class of freshmen like right after lunch, and freshmen are what, like 13, 14. And I didn't have a whistle, and I wasn't their coach. I was just some guy there to talk, and it was rough. I was like, oh man.
Freshmen are rough.
and then I survived, but and then the other weird thought was like, wow, you guys were born in 2003. I graduated in 2002. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That was like a weird thought. You know, I think they're juniors now, that class that I spoke to, but obviously I have so much respect for teachers and for coaches. It's a little bit easier as coaches because you do get to be a little more firm on the field than you get to be in the classroom.
Yes.
But you take the whistle away, it's a little harder to control them. But I think whether it's in youth ministry or whether it's in, you know, community service or whether it's in the classroom, I think if young people, if anyone really knows that you care, they're more willing to listen. And I remember I actually was a youth pastor and worship leader in my community right after high school. And it was a rough crowd. And we went from like, when I first started, it was just like a group of like 10 of the church kids, right? And that was great. But then all of a sudden, we just exploded after that. And we would have, you know, a couple hundred kids on a Friday night like in Cashville.
Wow.
We built this youth center, and we would do, you know, we wanted them to have a place to hang out and get off the streets. And it was always a struggle because a lot of the old church folks were like, we don't want them messing up the church, and they got to take off their hat in the house of the Lord. And I'm like, well, you know, Betty, they're not usually used to coming to church, so we might, you know, I'll repaint the wall, and like I think God will forgive us if they keep their hat on. Like let's just let them come and feel safe, and we'll work out the rest later, you know. So it was interesting because
just being there.
Yeah, exactly. Just knowing that we care, right? And showing God's love just through whatever your background is, whatever your religion is. It's more just like, I believe that, you know, everyone wants to connect to a higher power, whatever you might call that, right? Whatever, and you might express it a certain way, others might a different way. I'm not here to debate that, but we all also, I think, want to give back and be part of something bigger than ourselves. And we all want to connect with each other. And so sports have a way of bringing that together. And I know a lot of people are struggling right now, like without March Madness, and baseball's supposed to be starting. It's really weird. No NBA. Kind of weird. More time for Stephen Clay to get healed. So I'm not worried about it. But, you know, I think more than ever, people like yourselves, and I very much appreciate you guys, leadership matters at a time like this, you know. And I think crisis like this, it exposes people that are fake, and it reveals people that are real, right? And I think you're seeing that right now, because social media can be a place where it's easy to fake it till you make it. It's easy to like present a certain, you know, voice or style or whatever, but it's hard sometimes in a world that seems so fake digitally to keep it real. And so I appreciate, you know, your inspirational messages and stuff like that. And what, you know, we just have a few minutes left, but what would you say? Obviously you're reaching out with your students, both at the church and at the high school, and they're having a hard time mentally grasping what's happening right now. What are some things that you would say to encourage people that either they're a young person watching this, or they have young people at home, or they're a business owner like Jess, or they're a coach like yourself who maybe got let go or is taking a break or whatever? What are just some thoughts that you're having as you're going through this yourself?
I think what comes to mind immediately when you ask that question is, are we just experiencing this? Are we just going through what we're going through, or are we growing through what we're going through? You know what I'm saying? Rather than just going through it, we got to grow through this. And if we don't come out of this thing learning something new about ourselves or the people around us, or maybe our circle gets a little bit smaller or maybe a little bit bigger, I'm not sure. It all depends on your lifestyle, who you surround yourself with. But yeah, man, I mean, this is just we all have to we're all in this together. You know,
Yeah.
there's no one that's an exception to what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? Other than obviously the essential, but I mean, their lives are at risk every day just from being away from home. So, but going back to them, and we just got to continue to learn from this experience, and I think it'll be a lesson. It'll be an opportunity lost if we don't learn something from this experience, whether it be within your own family, learning how to be parents again. I know some parents, to be quite honest with you, they don't see their children at all. And they don't get to spend any time with children. Just being in education and being in coaching for as long as I have been, I've seen it firsthand, you know, and there's no relationship there. So maybe it's a great opportunity for them to kind of get to know their kid all over again. It's just like a married couple. Like, for example, my parents are been married for a long time, and all the kids moved out of the house. So now they have to get kind of reacquainted with each other. It's like, hey, who are you now? Because you're not the same. You're not the same person I married, because we're all grown, we're all developed. And if you are the same person, shame on you, because that means you haven't been learning.
You bring up a good point, and I appreciate everything you just said. How have you guys grown from, obviously you met in high school or maybe before, and then you dated, and then, you know, you started your career as a coach, and you started your career as an entrepreneur. You've grown through business, and obviously you got married, you started, you know, investment properties, you got your son, you're building a family. How have you kind of evolved, you know, in each stage of your life together, and what do you see your role now? Kind of, it's funny because I said this the other day to somebody. I've been saying it for a while. I was like, I guess we're the grown-ups now. Like, and it's kind of, we're kind of in that phase, and people mature at different levels, right? But those of us that are in our 30s and 40s are kind of like, okay, not only are we now kind of responsible for our parents and grandparents, and if you have children, we're kind of in that, you know, 30 to 50 range is usually when most people really step into their own career-wise, family-wise. I think in your 20s, you're just kind of, even though you guys are mature for when you were in your 20s, most people in their 20s are just kind of messing around, figuring it out. Most people are not buying investment properties at 21 years old and getting tax advice.
They're spring break in Miami and saying, if I get the virus, I get the virus. That's the 20-year-old.
Yeah.
We're all seeing that clip, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, you know, how did you guys grow through those stages, and what stage do you feel like you're in right now, or like God is calling you to like step into right now?
We've learned that any relationship, especially within a marriage, it has to be a team effort. We have to be in this together. We have a lot of compromises, a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of things I can't do because I'm not single anymore. I can't do those things anymore because it's not just me. It's us. Right. We're in this together. Right. And one of my friends, he's a college coach in Texas, and I learned this because he was in town a year ago or so. He's on the recruiting trail. He recruits our area, so he stays with us as he recruits. And one of the things I learned from him, what he learned from his parents, was when you have kids and you have a family. Again, this is just from my experience and speaking for ourselves only. A lot of parents put their kids above their spouse. You know, and what I learned from my buddy was that one time they were at a dinner table and he talked back to his mom, and his dad shut him down quick. His dad's like, hey, don't you ever talk to my wife like that. Don't you ever talk to my wife like that. You know, put her on a pedestal. And then now, because now he's a father today with, I think, a family of 3, and he's married also with his wife, his high school sweetheart. And he told us that story. Like, man, that really stuck with me. And not only am I teaching my son how to respect his mother, but I'm also teaching my son how to respect women, and don't ever talk to a woman like that. Especially a woman of integrity, a woman of respect, and especially a woman who loves you and wants to makes all these sacrifices for you. So I kind of took that, and that's also obviously a growing thing that we're doing. We've only been parents for 3 years, so we're learning as we go. And then, but it's even just within our own professions and things that we're passionate about, we have to support one another. We have to. Or again, it comes to we're a team. So, for example, I'm in education and I coach, so I don't get to speak. I don't get to see a lot of them oftentimes, especially during the season. A lot of coaches know this, and you know this. You coach, so there's a lot of time away from home, and I spend more time with kids who are not even mine, you know. But I'm investing in them. I'm influencing them to be better men and how to live their life a certain way, and just give them tools to work with, so that when they become men and fathers and husbands and professionals, they got a toolbox to work with. But,
I think. Go ahead, Jess.
Oh, I think that with growing together in the whole coaching aspect, though, I think that for us, what's been successful is that I haven't let that, the fact that he, invests more time into other kids affect his relationship with our own child.
Right.
I take more initiative to make more time for his coaching, so there's a trade-off. It's not just, oh, well, how are you going to go spend all this time with other kids, not spend time with your kids? But I make no effort. It doesn't make any sense.
And that happens a lot.
A lot. So what I do now is I make sure that I go to his practices if we have time. That'll be like a little adventure for our son.
And he's the mascot, right? He's the mascot of the team. I'm sure.
And the kids, he loves being with the kids. That's the thing. Yeah. He loves being part of the team.
So let me encourage you with this, because I've watched you guys from afar, and I super respect and appreciate what you guys are doing. And I think it's a couple things. It becomes your intention, and how your intention is not to avoid your family by coaching. Your intention is to build your legacy with your family through coaching. And so there you guys are doing it together and through being an entrepreneur. And so what I see, it's a combination of things, and this is why I feel it's part of your calling and why I appreciate you guys, is that not only is your son better for growing up in that environment and getting to watch you guys and be your fans and cheer you both on in your respective fields, because he goes to work with you too, I'm sure, is that you are actually helping heal your staff and your students by watching you guys be married and be parents, because a lot of people don't get to see that or experience that. So it goes both ways. You guys are blessed, but you're also being a blessing in it. And it's pretty awesome to watch. Unfortunately, Instagram Live kicks you off after an hour. So promise me this. Thank you guys so much for your time. Promise me that when this thing's settled, we figure out what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, that we can get together for a proper podcast. We'll sit down in studio. And then I would love to do a vlog and follow each of you for a day and see what it's like, in your world, and see what it's like in your world. So can I get that commitment from you guys right now?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I love what you guys are doing. And I hope we can stay in touch and just take things to the next level. Thank you again. And everybody, please follow them. We're doing this on Art's page right now, but follow both of them when you get a chance, and also the businesses. And keep doing what you guys are doing. Appreciate you guys, man. Take care.
Thank you, Jordan. Stay safe. Bye.
All right, Jordan.